She never hauled a load in her life. She only rode along. My brother said that into a microphone. He said it in front of everyone I grew up with. The whole Grange Hall laughed along with him, warm and easy. I stood at the back, in my dress uniform, and kept my hands still. I'd driven every one of those loads myself, and he knew it. He smiled at our table the whole time he said it. Let me take you back to the river year, because that's where all of this starts. My name's Odalys Trawick, and I'm 47 years old. 1 weekend a month, and a good deal more some years, I wear the Army's uniform. The rest of my life I drive. Trucks are the whole of what I do well. I load them, I chain the freight down, I take it where it's needed, and I bring the empty truck home. A truck driver is furniture with a license. That's how they treated it. Sit with that idea a moment. Not the flood and not the loads. Just the notion that I was a passenger in my own life. The one who rode along while some man did the driving. I let my family believe it for years.
Look at this one!
I convinced myself it never cost me a thing.
Can I pet
When
him?
we were young, Merrick told me I'd never handle a clutch. Girls stall those, he said. Then watch me not stall. You'll grind the gears to filings. Get in and see for yourself. He never got in. He just decided the way he decided everything about me. Decide once, and you never have to look again. My whole family drove on that habit for years. My brother Merrick was the one who talked. People leaned in when he spoke, and I hauled whatever needed hauling. That felt like the natural order of our family. It stayed that way.
Look at this one, he's so
right
fluffy.
up until the night it didn't. Here's the thing to keep in mind first.
They really
There was
want
a
those
scale.
treats.
Across the road from the county fairground sits a grain elevator. Every loaded truck that pulls away from it rolls across a certified
Look at
scale.
these massive Maine
The
Coons
state
just chilling on the
inspects that
dock.
scale
Hey guys,
and
want
seals
some
it every
food?
year.
It's so beautiful
It
out here,
doesn't
even the
guess,
vending
and
machine
it doesn't
glows.
get tired, and it doesn't care whose feelings are on the
Oh
line.
wow, look at that!
When a loaded truck crosses
Hey,
it,
little guy,
a
that was
small
mine.
machine prints a paper ticket.
Don't push now,
The weight,
sweetie.
the time, the name of the
There's
driver
enough for
signed
all of
out
you.
on that load. That machine kept a record my family
Look at
never
this
thought
one, it
to
wants
go looking
attention.
For 2 whole years, nobody did.
Oh, it's so cute.
So here's
Look at
the
the
second question I
paws.
kept chewing on, once Merrick started telling his version around town. How do you argue with a man everyone wants to believe in? Could a sealed machine settle a thing my family had already decided long ago? I didn't know the answer yet. I only knew I was finished arguing with my mouth. It began with a flood the late summer the river came up and wouldn't go back down. The river there is called the Cottonwood, and that August it climbed for 11 days straight. I counted them later, one at a time on my fingers.
Oh my gosh,
The
look at the
county
little
threw open a shelter at
tabby.
the fairground.
He's adorable.
People came off the low
Did you see
ground
the
with
orange one
almost
over there?
nothing.
Here's a
They
little
needed
fishy for
cots
you.
to sleep
Go ahead,
on.
eat it up.
They needed feed for the stock they'd driven ahead of the water. They needed clean water most of all, because the shallow wells go bad first. The co-op had a truck sitting idle behind the elevator. It was an old 5-ton with a clutch stiff as a fence post. I had the license for it, and the hours, and the willingness to go. So I climbed up, and I drove it. You sure you can handle that thing? The co-op man asked. I've handled a lot bigger.
Oh wow,
She
look
pulls
at the
hard to
orange
the right.
one.
Then I'll steer a little left. He put the keys in my hand and turned back to the sandbags. That was the whole of my hiring. I ran that 5-ton to the shelter and back until the water dropped.
Here you go, everyone.
After
Eat
load
up.
after load. Feed sacks
They are
stacked
loving
clear
this.
up to the cab window. Cots roped down flat under a green tarp. Pallets of bottled water that sweated in the heat and shifted on the turns. Each trip out the loaded truck crossed the elevator scale first. The elevator lot was where they staged all the supplies. Every
Did you
trip, the
see
little
that
machine
yawn?
printed its ticket,
I got
and
it
I
right
never
in the
gave it a
lens.
thought. My eyes were on the road and
This
the
place
rising
is
water.
great.
A woman named Nettie ran the cot line at the shelter. She met me at the dock each trip. What'd you bring us this run? Feed and water.
Look at you
Cots on the
playing with
next
my
one.
bag.
Bless you.
Here, you want this.
We're
Go ahead,
near
take
out
it.
of blankets. I'll
Good
load blankets
boy.
first thing tomorrow. You've been at this since dawn, honey. The water doesn't keep banker's hours. She'd laugh at that worn thin and wave me back out. Then I'd swing the empty truck around and go again. Some runs were feed, some were cots. Some were nothing but water, pallet on pallet of it.
Look at
The
this
shelter went through
one.
it faster than I could haul it.
Kawaii,
How many souls
Do you want
tonight?
some food?
I asked her once. Near 200. More coming off the ridge. I'll run all night if you need it. You already are, honey. One night the water came over the low bridge while I was loaded. I felt the back end start to float, and I fought the wheel straight. Turn around!
Look at all these cats
A man
just
yelled
sleeping
from the
in
dark.
sun.
The bridge is gone under! I've got feed for 40 head. You'll drown for it. Then point me at the high road. He climbed up on the running board and rode with me to the turn. He showed me the gravel spur
Here
that
you go,
stayed above
lots
the
to
water.
eat.
We reached the shelter near midnight.
Look how
both
fluffy
of us
that one
soaked to
is.
the collar. You always drive like that. Only when it matters. He shook his head and helped me unload. I never got his name, and I don't think he ever got mine.
Wow,
That's how
big
those 11
stretch.
days went. You worked beside a stranger
hungry?
and never traded names, and the work was the only thing that got said. My nephew rode along with me one of those days. Silas, my brother's boy, 6 years old that summer. He was all skinned knees and questions. How much does the whole truck weigh? Loaded like
Look at this
a
little
lot.
one.
The scale tells us.
So
Can I watch it weigh
cute.
us? Keep your eyes
trying to
on
get
the
in the bag?
numbers. Watch them jump. He pressed his face to the glass and watched the red numbers climb and settle. Did Daddy drive one time?
Here you go, little
Not
guy.
this truck. Not once.
Oh, look
He
at him
said he
munch.
might. Then maybe
He really likes the
might.
fish.
Not today. He never forgot the sight of those numbers. I had no idea then how much that would matter. Merrick came out to the fairground twice in 11 days. Both times he stood in the shade by the cot table and talked with the men. He never lifted a feed sack. He never climbed up into the cab. "You need a hand out here?" he called over one afternoon. "I need that pallet moved inside. I'd throw my back clean out. Then it isn't a hand you're offering." He laughed like I'd told a joke. I hadn't
Come here, I have some
been
treats.
joking. That was the shape of the whole
Oh.
11 days.
Wow,
I drove,
okay then.
and he
Enjoy your
watched
squid.
from the shade in the cottonwood finally crested and fell. Everybody went home worn to the bone. The elevator kept its stack of flood tickets in a drawer inside the scale house. 11 days of them banded together. A weight a time, and a name on every one.
Wow,
They sat
that
in
is
that
one
drawer for 2
relaxed
years.
cat.
And I forgot they were there. So did
I
everybody
wish
else.
I could stretch like that.
And that forgetting is the reason a lie found room to grow. The lie didn't arrive all at once. It grew the way Johnson grass grows a little
at this
more every
adorable little
season
sleeper we
until it
found.
owned the field. The first
He doesn't seem
Thanksgiving
to want
after
this
the
snack.
flood,
He's too comfortable.
Merrick told the table he'd helped out some during the high water. Helped out. I let it pass. It was close enough to true if you didn't look hard. By the second year, the story had teeth and a spine. Now he'd run supplies to that shelter day and night. Now
Here you
his
go,
back
buddy.
had just
Enjoy
about
the
given
fish.
out from all the lifting. "You always were the one who stepped up," my mother told him. "Somebody had to," he said. "Your sister help you any?" "She kept me company. You know Odalys." I looked down at my plate and held my
Hey,
tongue.
want some food?
Keeping quiet felt
Come on,
like
don't be so
keeping the
grumpy.
peace. It wasn't peace at all. I was watering the weeds and calling it kindness. Then the co-op decided to make a real occasion out of it. They planned a harvest relief dinner, a proper sit-down affair in the Grange Hall. They meant to honor the folks who'd driven for the shelter through the worst of it. Somebody was going
Look
to
at the
stand
cat.
up
He
in front
actually
of the
took it.
entire county and get thanked
That's
for
hilarious.
those
They
11
really
days.
are demanding
Merrick
locals.
made good and certain that somebody would be him. He told the co-op board he'd been the man behind the wheel. He told them his sister tagged along to keep him company. He said
you
it
go,
gently,
buddy.
almost
Get the treat.
fondly. It was the way a man describes a
kitty.
dog that likes to ride in the truck. I heard him tell it myself once at the feed store. He didn't know I stood in the next aisle. 11 days I ran that shelter, he was saying. All by yourself. My sister rode along some. Kept me company. Good of her to. She's not built for the
Look at
heavy
this
work.
one. He's begging
I
for
stood there with a
food.
salt block in my
I
arms
know, they
and
are
said
so
nothing.
friendly here.
I set it
I wish
down
we
easy
could take them
and
all
went out the
home.
other door. My hands were steady, and that surprised me some. By the next spring, the story had walked clear across the county. At a cousin's wedding, a woman I'd never met thanked me for supporting my brother. He told us all about the flood, Mrs. Trawick, she said. Did he? Said you were a comfort to have along. I'm sure he did. I danced one dance and drove home early. The lie had gotten so big by then that correcting it would have sounded like jealousy.
Who's a demanding little kitty.
I let it be. I had a better
Yes, you
plan
are.
than words. Word of
He
it
is
got
so
back to me through my
fluffy, look
cousin
at
Reba.
him.
Merrick saying you rode along during the flood. Is that the word going around? He says you kept him company in the cab. I kept a loaded 5-ton on the road for 11 days. Well,
Wake up, sleepyheads.
that surely isn't
Don't you
the
want some
story
food?
I'm hearing. No, I don't imagine it is. You going to say something to him? I'm going to say something. Not to him. It wasn't the story going around. The story had my brother as the hero of the flood and me as the girl who came along for the ride. And that story was about to be read out loud, into a microphone, in front of everyone I'd grown up beside. The old anger rose in me hot and useless as a grass fire. Then something underneath it went very still and very cold and very clear. I wasn't going to argue with him. Arguing was Merrick's game, and he'd always been better at it. I was going to walk across the road to the scale house instead. I was going to let a sealed machine do my talking. The elevator scale house is a little steel booth with a sliding window. It sits right where the trucks roll off the certified scale.
He's really thirsty. Look at him go.
A young fellow runs it now.
The red
His
lantern
name's
looks
Tobias
great in the
Renn,
background.
and I doubt he's a day over 26. I'd cross paths with him a time or two hauling Milo in the fall. He's the quiet sort. He watches the numbers, he writes them down, and he doesn't say much past the weather. I went over on a Tuesday before I could talk myself out of it. Something I can do for you? I
It's
need to
okay,
ask about
sweetie.
some old tickets.
Come
How
on
far
over
back
here.
are we talking?
You're safe.
2 summers ago. The flood. He studied me a second
Look
before
at
he
this
answered.
one. He's so fluffy.
You mean the relief runs? Those ones. He didn't
Hey, buddy,
ask
want
me
a
why.
treat? Come here.
He just turned to a gray steel cabinet and started pulling open the long drawers. We keep everything that crosses the scale, he told me. Doesn't matter what's on the
Eat
bed.
slowly.
For
There's
how
enough
long?
for everyone.
A lot longer than 2 years.
You are all
Scale
so
certified.
adorable.
So the state makes you keep the record. State says keep it, so we keep it. My heart did a thing it hadn't let itself do in a good while. It hoped. So every loaded truck got its own ticket. Every last one. Machine prints it the second the axle trips. And
Oh
the
my
ticket
God,
prints
look
a
at that
name.
yawn.
Driver signed out on the load.
It's so
Wait time and
cute.
name. Every time the scale trips. Even a relief load doesn't know the difference. Weighs it the same. Show me how it works, I said. Axle rolls on. Load cell reads weight. And the paper. Machine stamps it. Wait time driver. Who types the driver names? Whoever signs out at the window. So I signed my own name. 41 times looks like. He said it plain not to flatter me. He was only telling me how his machine worked. I liked him for that. A man who won't dress up a number is a rare thing. He found the flood drawer and set a thick band of tickets on the counter. 2 years of gray dust lifted off the top. Care to look them over? I didn't reach for them. I looked at the top ticket instead. There was a date and a weight and a name below it. The name was mine. Don't read them to me yet, I told him. Answer me one thing first. All right. Whose name is signed out on those loads? He fanned the top handful with his thumb and read down the column. Same name on all of these. Which name? Odalys. Every ticket says Odalys. Odalys, and not Merrick. The scale had known the truth for 2 full years, and not one soul had ever thought to ask
slowly
it.
now,
I
don't
braced
rush.
one hand on the steel counter to
how
keep it from
cute they
shaking.
are.
How many of these are there? For the flood days, every load that went to that shelter. Then count them for me, please. Every day the river was up, every single day. He gave me a slow nod. And standing there in that little booth, I understood something. I wasn't holding a memory anymore. and a memory can always be argued with. I was holding a sealed machine's word printed and stamped. A machine has no dog in anybody's fight. It took Tobias the best part of a week to work through them. I stopped by the scale house each evening after my shift. He'd have the day's stacks squared off on the counter, sorted the dates in a row. 11 days, he told me the third evening. I found tickets for every one. How many loads altogether? 41 so far. I'm not finished counting. 41 loaded runs out to that shelter. 41 times the scale had caught the truck and printed a name. I'd driven every one and never kept a tally. The machine had kept it for me. Every ticket says the same name. Everyone in the stack, not a single one says Merrick. Not one. I checked it twice on account of you asked. He wasn't doing it to help me win, and I need to be plain on that. He kept telling me in his flat, quiet way that he only read what was printed. I'm not taking anybody's side here. I'm not asking you to. The scale doesn't care who's angry at who. Good. The numbers don't have to care. How do I know the scale read true back then? I asked one evening. State seals it every year. There's a tag on it. And 2 summers ago, sealed then too, I pulled the tag record. So the weight couldn't have drifted. Not without breaking the seal. Nobody broke it. Then the tickets are good as the day they printed. Good as the day they printed. That mattered more than I can say. A man can lie about a flood. A sealed scale can't lie about a pound. He cut a fresh statement straight off the machine. It was one clean sheet that pulled every flood day weight into a single column. He pressed the elevator's certified stamp down onto the bottom. Then he laid all the original tickets out beside it in order, date by date. Anybody on Earth could check the one against the other. Meanwhile, across town, Merrick was rehearsing for his big move. He had no idea I'd been near the scale house. He was too busy polishing the story to notice I'd gone quiet in a new way. At a family supper that week, he got to feeling expansive. Hardest I ever worked in my life, he told the table. 11 straight days on that stiff clutch. I laid my fork down easy. The clutch was stiff, all right, I agreed. Pulled hard to the right, too. See there? Even she remembers. Oh, I remember that truck fine. Feed sacks near broke my back. They were heavy, those sacks. You even remember the shelter lady? I asked him. Sure, big woman, ran the cots. What was her name? Didn't catch names. Too busy hauling. Nettie. Her name was Nettie. Right, Nettie. Good woman. He'd never met her. She never once saw him. I'd carried her blankets at midnight while he slept dry in his bed. He never heard the trap closing in it. He was describing a truck he'd never driven. He was getting every detail straight from me. Somehow, he thought that made me his witness. My mother beamed at him across the plates. My cousin Reba, though, was watching me now, and she looked a good deal less sure than before. Reba caught my sleeve on the way out that night. You've gone quiet on me, she said. I'm saving it up. Saving it for what? For a night when quiet won't do. Odalys, what did you do? Nothing yet. I asked a question across the road. She didn't follow that, and I didn't help her along. Some things you carry until the day they're ready to set down. You'll come to the dinner, won't you? My mother asked. I'll be there, Mama. I didn't mention that the co-op had already called me. They wanted a soldier to stand the honor guard by the flag while they handed out the thanks. They wanted me there, in dress uniform, at attention along the back wall. They wanted me standing my post while they thanked my brother for my own 11 days. I said yes. Of course I said yes. I had a folder full of tickets now, and at long last I had a room worth opening it in. The Grange hall smelled of boiled coffee and folding chairs and warm pie. They'd hung a hand-lettered banner over the little stage. Somebody's wife had baked all afternoon. I stood the honor guard by the flag in my dress uniform, sleeves down, hands set where they belonged. From the back wall, I could take in the whole room. My family had a table up near the front. Merrick sat at the head of it, like the evening already belonged to him. People kept drifting up to me before the program.
Thank you for your service, Mrs. Trawick.
I appreciate that. Your brother's the real hero tonight, though. Is that so?
Drove all the way through that flood, the way I hear it.
That's the story going around, I said, and I let him wander off happy. An old rancher stopped by, next hat in his hands.
You must be proud of your brother, Mrs. Trawick.
I'm proud of a lot of things. He surely stepped up.
Somebody did.
A young mother brought me a plate of ham. You didn't have to stand up there all night, Mrs. Trawick.
It's an honor to. That's the whole point.
My kids think that uniform's really something. Tell them it's mostly early mornings. She smiled and moved on down the line. I balanced the plate on the windowsill and left it. My stomach wasn't with eating. I was watching the back door and the dark past it. The hall filled up slow. Chairs scraped. Children ran the aisles until their mothers caught them. Up front, my brother laughed at something and clapped a man on the shoulder. He looked like a man who owned the night.
Mrs. Trawick.
Every last soul in there called me that. Not a soul in the hall knew there was another word for me, and I'd never corrected a single one. That was the whole plan. Let it stay small and wrong until the numbers made it large and true. The co-op president got up and welcomed everybody. He talked about the high water and the shelter and the neighbors who'd stepped up when it counted. And one man in particular, he said, kept those supplies moving. He read out my brother's name. The room broke into applause. Merrick rose and waved a modest hand, as though all that praise had worn him out. Then he reached over and took the microphone. I only did what needed doing, he said, and the crowd loved him for it. Long nights, he went on. Cold water. You do what you can. The room hummed warm approval. He was good at this. He'd always been good at this. He found my mother's face and softened his voice for her. Family gets you through, he said. She pressed a hand to her heart. And that's when he said the line. The very one I opened all this with. My sister came along, he said, smiling toward our table. She never hauled a load in her life. She only rode along. More laughter rolled through the hall, warm, easy, and certain. My own mother laughed right along with the rest, and into the little pocket of quiet after that laugh, a small, clear voice piped up from the family table. It was a 6-year-old's voice, one that hasn't learned yet what a person's supposed to leave unsaid. Daddy, that's not true! Silas was standing straight up on his chair. I rode in the truck, he said. Odalys drove it. Silas, sit down, Merrick said. You never touched the wheel one time. The laughter cut off all at once, the way a faucet shuts off. Merrick's smile held a second too long, the way a smile does after the man behind it has left. My mother reached for the boy's arm. My cousin Reba turned in her seat and looked straight back at me. And there at the back door, a young man in a work jacket stepped in out of the dark. He was holding a thick folder flat against his chest. Tobias had come, after all. Tobias came up the center aisle like a man carrying something heavy, though that folder didn't weigh a thing. Mr. President, I run the scale house across from the fairground. We're in the middle of our program, son. I brought the flood records along. The flood records. I figured tonight's the night they'd matter. The president looked over at Merrick. Merrick looked at the door like he wished he was on the far side of it. Then the president waved the young man up. Tobias set his folder on the folder and opened it flat. He didn't launch into a speech. He isn't built for speeches. Every loaded truck that left our elevator crossed the certified scale. Go on. The scale prints the weight, the time, and the driver. And it did that during the flood. It did that clear through the flood, same as any day. Young man, just tell the room what you've got. I won't tell you what I saw, Tobias said. I'll read you what the scale printed. And that's exactly what he did. Day 1, first load feed, signed out to Odalys. The whole hall had gone dead silent now. Day 1, second, load cots and water Odalys again. Day 2, 3 loads. All of them Odalys. He worked his way straight down the dates. He never rushed a word, and he never gloated over a line. He read weights, and he read times, and he read one name over and over. That one name never changed on him. Day 6 was the worst of the water's 6 loads. And the name, the president asked, Odalys. Every single one. Keep reading, the president said. Day 7, 2 loads, both Odalys. Day 8, 4 loads, all Odalys. Day 9, the same again. He turned the page and kept his voice level. Day 10, Day 11, Odalys and Odalys. Somebody near the back said, Lord above. Merrick was up on his feet now. That's only the sign out, he said. Anybody could sign a load. 41 loads, 11 days, Tobias said, flat as the scale itself. That doesn't prove a thing. Not one of them reads Merrick. He closed the folder. The scale doesn't know your family, he said. It only weighs what crosses it. The president took the stamped statement from his hand and held it a good while. Then he did the one thing that broke the whole night wide open. It says right here, he read out slowly, the relief driver was pulled from the guard armory. He raised his eyes and looked across the room at me. At the back wall, standing there in my uniform, the roster lists her as Sergeant Odalys Trawick. Sergeant. My family heard that word for the very first time. In a grange hall. From a stranger reading a co-op roster out loud. My mother's hand rose slowly to her mouth. Not Mrs. Trawick anymore. Sergeant. The one they hand the trucks to when the trucks absolutely have to arrive. Chairs turned. Faces I'd known my whole life swung toward the back wall to find me. Reba was crying, and she was smiling while she cried. An old neighbor stood up, then sat back down, not sure what a person does with a thing like that. Sergeant, my mother whispered, trying the word out. Somebody started clapping. Then the whole hall did. It rolled up from the front and broke over me like weather. Relief broke over me, and grief came right along with it, both at once. I'd waited so long to be seen for what I was. Finally being seen nearly took my knees out from under me. I kept them locked. I kept standing my post by the flag. Merrick sat back down. He didn't have one word of story left. The scale had used up all the air in that room, and there wasn't a breath of it left for him. I wish I could say I felt like I'd won something that night. The plain truth is I didn't. Mostly I just felt tired in a clean and settled way. It was the tired you feel at the end of a long haul, when the truck's finally chained down and the engine ticks itself quiet. Merrick never said a word to me the rest of the evening. He slipped out the side door before the pie was cut. My mother found me over by the flag, and her eyes were wet and old. I didn't know, Odalys. I know you didn't, Mama. Why did you never tell us? I did tell you. I told it with a truck instead of my mouth. She didn't rightly understand that, not all the way. But she reached out and took my hand in both of hers, and I decided that was worth something. Silas came over too, holding his mother's hand, scared clean through. He'd done a bad thing. Was I bad, Aunt Odalys? No, sweetheart. You were the only honest voice in the room. The numbers jumped, though. Remember? I remember. You watched every one of them jump. Are you really a sergeant? I really am. For how long? Longer than
Driven
you've
by
been
an acute
alive.
sense of smell,
Does the truck weigh
the colossal
a lot?
polar bear
When it's
exerts
full.
unstoppable force,
You saw the numbers
smashing
jump.
through feet of
I'd drive one someday. Maybe you will. Drive it honest. He nodded like we'd struck a deal. Maybe we had. Nobody stripped Merrick of a thing because there was nothing official to take. The consequence wasn't a punishment I handed down. It was only the truth sitting in the room where the lie used to sit so comfortable. People knew now, and that was the whole of it. The truth did the heavy lifting. I never had to. Reba called me the next week. The whole county's talking, she said. Let them talk. It's true now. Merrick won't show his face. He will. Give it time. How are you so calm about it? I've been calm for 2 years. This is the Rested. The co-op reprinted the dinner program. My name went on it, spelled right, rank, and all. Merrick's name stayed off, not out of spite, but because he'd never earned a line there. He and I are careful with each other these days. Not warm, exactly. Careful. Some fences you mend, and some you just agree to quit leaning on. Let me leave you where I finally found my own peace with it. The morning after the dinner, I drove back to the Grange Hall to help clean up. Nobody else had gotten there yet. The kitchen stood empty and gray in the early light. I was still in my duty uniform, sleeves down, because I'd come straight from the post and never made it home. I had one scale ticket with me, just the one from day 6, the highest the water rose. I laid it flat on the steel prep counter and pressed it down under 2 fingers, and I didn't lift them off it. A coffee urn ticked to itself somewhere behind me as it heated. I stood there in the gray light and read that little printed line one more time. The weight, the time, my own name. And I felt the last of the anger drain out of me, quiet as heat leaving a stone. I thought about calling Merrick. I didn't. There wasn't a thing left to say that the tickets hadn't said better. I thought about all the years I'd stayed quiet and called it peace. Quiet has its place. But it isn't the same thing as peace, and I know the difference now. Here's the thing I finally understood, with 2 fingers resting on a scrap of paper. You can spend years waiting on people to see you true. But some things don't need a witness to be real. A scale doesn't argue, and it doesn't flatter, and it doesn't forgive. It weighs what crosses it, and it prints the plain truth whether a soul ever reads it or not. I'd been the truth the whole time. I just never needed to be believed in order to be it. If this story reached something in you, pass it to someone who's ever been treated like furniture in their own life. I'd be honored if you subscribed and rode along on the